Hi, I'm David Preston, and today's show, I hope you are hungry, because that's where we're going. That's right, we're going to make some chicken paprikash just for you on Cook Like a Bastard.
Bastard! Bastard! He cooks like a bastard, so can you! Bastard! Bastard! He's not a bastard, but cooks like one too! Bastard! Bastard! Don't miss that little something and cook like a bastard today!
In our quest to make the most bastard-like meals for you, we're traveling all the way across the world and going to Hungary today, because we're going to be making some chicken paprikash. Now, where do you remember hearing that? There's that famous scene from Harry Met Sally. No, not that one. The other one.
Waiter, there is too much pepper on my paprikash.
That's right. Anyhow, that may have been the first place where you heard about paprikash, but we're going to make it and give it some life here and some flavor here in the Bastard Studio. And this is very easy. We're going to start with sauteing some onions here. So I'm going to turn on my stove here, light heat, just put a little olive oil on. And then cut up a couple onions, maybe some medium-sized onions here. Now, we've been having the big debate here in the studio because of all the mail we've been getting about people going, oh, I don't like him cutting onions anymore because he seems so less bastard-like when he's doing his crying. Well, I'm toughening up. I don't want to be too sensitive when we're here. But, so we're making a compromise in this show. I'm going to cut only one of the two onions on air, and I had my little tear fest a little bit earlier when I cut up the first one. So I'm going to cut these in kind of medium chunks here, very quickly, avoiding my fingers whenever possible. And then I'm just going to drop them over in the pan here. And I'm going to saute these. So our ingredients we're using here, besides the onions, we're going to be using some tomatoes, some paprika, some green peppers, and of course some chicken. And it's all going to come together. We're going to put it on some Hungarian spatzel, which is just really topped off the meal. So while we let these go here, we're going to dice our tomatoes up. Got another device here, because we like our little toys here. Just take out the stem of the tomato, like that. I'm going to cut this up in small chunks. Turn down my oven just a little bit. That's actually a stove, but you knew that. The Bastard audience, it's a smart audience. It can tell the difference between a stove and an oven. I'm going to cut these up in. It's always a heck of a time with tomatoes. And we have issues here with the tomatoes because we remember back when there used to be good tomatoes. And we've hybrid these things. And we're taping this in the end of March right now. Why should I be critical of the tomatoes we're getting today? Because for God's sakes, they're not good in June. Why would they be all that good in March and April? But we're going to dice these things up here. And again, it's 4 tomatoes. One thing you want to think about when dicing tomatoes is, what kind of website might I want to go to and when I'm not dicing tomatoes? Well, you might want to go to cooklikeabastard.com, because you're going to find all of our shows on there. You're going to find some recipes eventually and a lot of great merchandise, so you too can look like a bastard. Not that I'm a bastard. I don't even need to explain that anymore. I just kind of cook like one. So at about this time, after you've done about three tomatoes, you might want to look over here, because you hear the sauteing, and this has been going pretty well. And at about this time, you're going to want to be adding your paprika. This is paprika I actually got in Hungary, and this is about a 1/4 cup, maybe a little bit more. We just want to mix this in to make sure that the onions are completely covered. Whoa. Our first need for smell-o-vision right here. That is flavorful. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take about a 1/2 tablespoon of salt. Maine sea salt, by the way. Make sure the onions are covered. Then take about 2 cups of water. We're gonna let that sit at a medium heat. And now we can go cut that 4th tomato, which is going, hey, cut me up with all my friends, or cut up, I want to join my friends. So let's let him join his friends here in the world of the cut up tomatoes. Quality tomatoes from somewhere, Chile maybe, I don't know. I should stop the tomato rant because the tomato unions are going to start coming after me and say, stop picking on me. Don't eat the stinking tomatoes if you don't like it. And that's not really the case. I just like the way they used to be when they used to be good. So we also have 1 green pepper, fairly large green pepper here. Chop this guy up very quickly. Get rid of the seeds. Now you may think I'm throwing things on the floor. I actually do have a basket there. It's kind of fun and a little bastard like not having a basket, but neatness counts in this kitchen. So we quickly cut these things up so they're the right size. You don't want them too big, you don't want them too small. That's always the struggle you have here at the Bastard Studio, to make everything so perfect, but not quite too perfect, if you know what I mean. So anyhow, I'm going to put these in with the tomatoes because now it looks like the onions and the paprika has been doing a good little melding here. So I'm just going to dump these guys right in here. Mix this in. Wow, what a beautiful mixture we have here. So we're gonna let these guys sit for just a little bit and cut up our chicken. As you may have guessed, the chicken is the chicken portion of the chicken Paprikash here on Cook Like a Bastard. I've already chopped up some of them in, well, you didn't get to see that, but you get to see me chop up one because the techniques we use are so fine in how we take our knife and we cut. Watch, you take the knife and you cut. You take the knife and you cut. And you don't cut your fingers because this knife is duller than you want. So this is what happens when you use a dull knife. This is where we show lessons. This is a sharp knife. We're going to turn this the other way. Take the knife, and we cut, and we cut, and we cut. This is another great cooking tip from the Cook Like a Bastard studio. That's right, use a sharp knife. You'll be a lot happier in your dicing process. So we've let these guys simmer for a little bit over here, and we're going to pour in the chicken. And mix this whole contraption up. And then we're going to have a lot of simmering. Then we're going to make some spatzel and also some bread today. So it's a full day here in the kitchen, but we wanted to start by getting the paprikash all ready. So we cover this up on a medium heat for just a little bit, and we'll be right back on Cook Like a Bastard. More and more on Cook Like a Bastard, we've been bringing more breads to accompany the meal. Today we're going to make a Hungarian bread named Langos. That's Langos. Everybody, Langos, that's right. So this is a great bread, and we start with some potatoes. So I'm going to mash 1 large potato here. This is warm still. Okay, mash this up. Add 1 3/4 cups of flour. I'm going to add some yeast, 2 1/2 teaspoons, some olive oil. You know why? That's right, because who doesn't love the olive oil? And a little bit of sugar. And then top this off with about a 1/2 cup of milk. When I'm looking at this, I'm going, I think I'm missing a little something. What could that be? Cue the music. Yes, it is. It's time for cream of tartar here on today's recipe. And just 1 hint of cream of tartar or tartar makes every meal that much better. Thank you. All right. Now we got this all mixed up. We're going to take our paddle here on our professional HD 6000 mixer, which gets back in the show. Been a couple shows before since it's been in here, but we love when we bring this back in. So we're going to put this paddle on and turn it on 6. Just to mix this up just a little bit. So once you get the initial mixing up, you're going to take off your paddle and then put in your dough hook. And this is great because you don't often get to do the paddle and the dough hook on one creation. But as I said, it's been a couple shows since the professional 6008D KitchenAid has been in play. So welcome back. Welcome back, dear friend. Welcome back. So we're going to now mix this with the dough hook for about 7 minutes. Now remember, even though we're back in less than 7 minutes, this is that whole time elapsing. That's exciting. That's the illusion of time passing by in a second. So you let this go for about 7 minutes so it became very smooth and elasticy, as you can see here. And we're just going to move it into a greased bowl and let it rise so it about doubles in size. So we've let our Langos double in size. It took, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. And so here's what I got. It's very nice and elastic here. I'm just putting it on this board. I'm going to put a little more flour on my hands. And I'm going to cut it into 4 parts. It's going to be a little bit of work because it is very elasticy. If you remember, that was our goal, to make it very elasticy. So you cut it here. Cut it in half again. So I've floured my board here. Put a little more flour on it to make 4 balls. It's part of a great Hungarian meal. You want to go to the baths after you have something like this. So I'm going to let these guys sit for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to fry them up, because it's a fried bread. Here, and cook. Like a bastard. We let our Langos sit for about 20 minutes, and then just stretch them until they're about 8 inches round. And don't make them perfectly round, because you don't want to feel like you went to the Lango store and bought your Langos, or Langos as you might want to say. You got to give them a little personality, because that's what happens here. You can't just be so perfect in the studio, because for God's sake, that's not a bastard way of cooking, isn't it? You know, while I'm talking of it, I say I cook like a bastard, not that I am a bastard. Never make that mistake about someone, because you just might think something wrong. Hey, I'm a nice guy. So while you're doing this, you want to be heating up some canola oil or oil of your choice. If you feel that Hungarians might not use canola oil, please find the proper oil and heat that to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So we got these things up to about 8 inches, and we're letting our oil heat up, and we're about to fry up the bread. Okay, we're using our handy dandy infrared thermometer to find out that our oil is exactly 340 degrees. So by the time we get our bread in there, it's going to be at 350 degrees. So you're going to want to take one of these. Careful not to burn yourself, of course. You're going to put this in here for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then you're going to want to turn it. You also might want to split the center before or after, preferably before you actually put it in here. You ever made a fried bread before? This is a first for me, and halfway there, it looks like we're doing pretty good. Let's go over. We're going to turn it over here. Careful not to splatter yourself. That's why you want to cut the center earlier, so you make sure that the whole thing's in the oil when it rises. Okay, it's been a couple minutes. Looks like this one is almost done. Try to drain all the oil you can off in the pan. Oh yeah, that's some fried bread. Pick another one here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to slice the middle. This shouldn't pick up very well, but maybe it will. Just set her in. Checking underneath. That looks like she's done. Flip it over to get the top oil off. So the way you dress these things off, now that we have this here, we took a couple garlic cloves here. Take that, get rid of the paper towel. Took a couple garlic cloves, which we crushed a little bit and cut in half. Just kind of rub on here pretty freely. And if you got it, you really got to be putting pink salt on here, because it's really the preferential salt of the Cook Like a Bastard studio is the pink salt. Shows the softer side of it again. So just rub these guys on here. You know, if you break a little bit on it, maybe get some more garlic. So yeah, these are turning out great. So enjoy them, and they're easy to make. And we're making Langos. So remember, this started with mashed potatoes. A little flour, a little yeast, a little oil, and a little love here in the Bastard Studio. We're going to put this whole meal together, and there's a good chance you're going to love it too. Here on Cook Like a Bastard. The Paprikash is cooking, and I can smell it, and bet you can too out there. So we're going to make the Nokedli. That is the little Hungarian dumplings that we're going to put it on top of, and they are so darn good. So this is really simple. It's really your basic dough recipe for pasta. So I'm going to take a couple cups of flour here, and take about a half tablespoon of salt. Just kind of make a little well in the middle here. Crack my 1 egg. So that's kind of the difference, actually. Normally use like a 1 egg to 1 cup ratio. This is 1 egg to 2 cups. And then we're going to pour in just a little bit of water. Maybe using up to a cup by the time we're done here. And just mix it up with a spatula to start out. So these are little dumplings. They're pretty similar to Spätzle if you're in Germany. So I got my water boiling. Then when you get down to the bottom of your cup of water, you gotta say, how's the mixture looking? Should be a little softer than some dough, because I'm going to run it through a ricer here, which has a Spätzle grate on it. So I poured in my cup of water, and it looks a little thin, so I'm going to add just a smidgen more flour. And then once the water's boiled, we'll make some Spätzle, or as they like to say in Hungary, Nokedli. Here on Cook Like a Bastard. All right, so we're over here. We have our water boiling here, and our dough for the Nokedli is nice and smooth like it's supposed to be. And so I have my ricer right here. So I can put my ricer over my water. I'm going to put it over my pan first. And fill this up to make some Nokedli goodness here on Cook Like a Bastard. Hey, remember, you can see all of our shows at cooklikeabastard.com. You can also see some great merchandise. And eventually, you even see a recipe or two up there. So, anyhow, this is pretty simple. I just drip these into here. Let them break off just naturally. Make sure your water continues to boil, and it will cool down a little bit once you put this in here. We'll let this batch finish. So when these guys start coming to the top of the pan, you're going to know that they're done. It's pretty simple. Just spill them out and put them in your bowl. Boy, this was simple, wasn't it? Now, a good hint when you're doing this: make sure you do not use self-rising flour, because then you end up getting these things that don't work very well. Yes, we've experimented here in the Cook Like a Bastard studios, so you don't have to. So there you go. You got yourself a bowl full of Nokedli. Nokedli here on Cook Like a Bastard. Hey, this is what we've all been waiting for, how we put this whole thing together. So we're going to take a little bit of the Nokedli here. and take, oh my God, this paprikash is incredible smelling. Put this on top. And take a dollop of sour cream because sour cream comes in dollops. Kind of mix that in there. Grab a chunk of your bread, soak up the extra. Let's see what we did. It shouldn't be a surprise anymore, should it? Again, a fantastic Hungarian meal here on Cook Like a Bastard. We made chicken paprikash with Nokedli and Langos bread. And again, it just was a simple meal. It was tasty, a great way to enjoy an evening here on Cook Like a Bastard.
Like a bastard. So can you. He's not a bastard, but cooks like one too. Don't miss that little something and cook like a bastard today. Cook like a bastard today.
Nokedli. Nokedli, Nokedli, Nokedli.
David, TV.
All righty.